Have you
My
ever
children, this
wondered
world is a
why
mysterious
every
place we
soul
find
arrives
ourselves
this
in.
earth
Grandpa,
carrying
why do you say
hopes,
so?
fears, and dreams they never learned? What if everything you have ever believed about the beginning of humanity was only half the truth? The elders said there was a story so sacred that it could only be told after the fire had settled into glowing embers. Tonight, you are about to hear that forgotten story. Long before kingdoms rose from the red earth, long before drums echoed across the valleys, long before a single child laughed beneath the morning sun, the world existed in complete silence. No footprints marked the dusty paths, no voices floated across the rivers, no cooking fires sent smoke into the evening sky. The earth was beautiful, but empty. Far above the clouds, beyond the reach of the highest eagle, the great Creator watched the silent world. His light reached every mountain, his wisdom filled every river, yet his heart desired something more. He desired voices that could sing, hands that could build, hearts that could love, and generations that would remember the stories of their beginning. So the Creator called upon the oldest powers of the earth. The wind arrived first, swift and invisible. The river answered with its endless song. The fire rose, dancing from the depths of the earth. Last of all came the ancient baobab. Its roots reached deeper than memory. Its branches touched the edge of the heavens. It had witnessed the birth of mountains themselves. The Creator looked upon them and spoke. I have made a world filled with wonders, but wonders have no meaning if no one is here to behold them. So today we shall bring new life into the world. Silence followed the Creator's words. Even the wind refused to blow. The river slowed its endless journey. The whole world waited for what would happen next. The wind stepped forward first. Let them be swift like me. Let them travel beyond the mountains, and let them carry stories wherever they go. Then the river spoke. I shall give them water. I shall teach them patience, and I shall remind them that every journey begins from a single source. Fire danced high into the air. I will keep them warm. I will cook their food. But if they forget respect, I shall also remind them of my strength. The ancient baobab remained silent. Its leaves trembled gently. Its roots listened to the heartbeat of the earth. Then it finally spoke. My Creator, the tree said, what shall these new beings be made from? The wind cannot hold them. The river cannot shape them forever. The Creator smiled. He reached down toward the earth. His hands gathered rich red clay, the same clay that had rested beneath the mountains since the beginning. Carefully, he began to shape the clay. One figure, then another, then many more. They had eyes, but they could not yet see. They had hands, but they could not yet touch. They had hearts, but they did not yet beat. They stood as silent as statues beneath the open sky. The wind whispered, their bodies are ready. The river replied, but something is still missing. And the Creator slowly lifted his eyes toward the heavens. The heavens grew brighter than anyone could imagine. The sun paused in its journey across the sky. Even the stars appeared before their time. A great silence covered the earth once more. The Creator stretched out his hands. A warm breath flowed from his presence. It moved gently across the silent clay figures. One by one, it entered their waiting forms. The fingers of the first figure began to move. Its chest slowly rose. Its eyes opened to the light. The first heartbeat echoed across the world. Soon another awakened, then another, then hundreds stood alive beneath the open sky. The earth was silent no longer. They looked at the rivers with amazement. They touched the grass beneath their feet. They watched birds soaring above them. Everything was new to their eyes. The wind welcomed them with a cool breeze. The river offered them fresh water. The trees bent their branches to provide shade. Even the animals gathered without fear. The Creator smiled upon his new children. Walk this land with wisdom. Protect all that I have given you, for this world is now your home. The people bowed their heads. Their hearts were filled with gratitude. They promised to honor the land. And for many seasons, they kept that promise. But beyond the tallest mountains, hidden where no human eye could see, someone had been watching from the shadows, and envy had already begun to grow. Far beyond the highest mountains, where sunlight rarely reached, an ancient spirit awoke. It had watched the Creator fill the world with life. Now it stared at the laughter echoing across the valleys. Its heart burned with envy. If I cannot be loved, it whispered, then I shall be feared. If I cannot create, I shall teach them how to destroy. That night, while everyone slept peacefully, the spirit moved through the village. It did not steal their food. It did not break their homes. Instead, it whispered into their dreams. Some dreamt of having more than their neighbors. Some dreamt of power. Others dreamt of keeping everything for themselves. For the first time, selfishness entered the human heart. When the sun rose the next morning, the world looked exactly the same, but inside the hearts of the people, something had quietly begun to change, and no one yet realized the danger. The first signs were so small that no one noticed. A man refused to share his harvest. A hunter hid the best meat for himself. Neighbors who once laughed together began to look at one another with suspicion. The rivers still flowed. The birds still sang. The sun still warmed the earth. But the peace that had once filled every heart was beginning to fade. Soon, arguments replaced laughter. Families quarreled over land. Friends spoke words that wounded deeper than spears. The village elders watched with growing concern. One evening, the oldest elder lifted his walking staff. He looked toward the heavens. Then he said, "Something has entered our hearts that does not belong there." His voice trembled with sorrow. The people listened. Some lowered their heads in shame. Others folded their arms in disbelief. A few quietly walked away without saying a word. High above, the Creator watched everything. His heart was heavy. He had given the people freedom to choose. Now he watched them choose different paths. The wind carried the people's angry words across the plains. The river washed away tears that no one else could see. Even the oldest baobab shed its leaves before the season had come. Nature itself felt the growing sadness. Hidden beyond the hills, the ancient spirit smiled. Its whispers had become thoughts. Those thoughts had become actions, and the darkness continued to spread. But deep within the village, a young child looked up at the stars and asked, "Why does my heart tell me that we were made for something better?" The question floated into the night, and somewhere in the heavens, the Creator heard it. The Creator heard the child's question. It rose above the mountains. It crossed the clouds. It reached the gates of heaven like a gentle song. The Creator smiled with hope. "For as long as even one heart seeks goodness," he whispered, "the light shall never disappear from the world." That very night, the child had a dream. An old woman dressed in shining white stood beside a quiet river. Her face was gentle. Her eyes carried the wisdom of countless generations. "My child," she said softly, The darkness grows because people have forgotten who they are. They remember the gifts, but they have forgotten the giver. When hearts become empty, they begin chasing things that can never satisfy them. They gather riches, but lose their peace. The child listened carefully. Every word settled deep within the heart. The river flowed quietly beside them. The night seemed filled with unseen voices. Before the dream faded, the old woman placed a small seed into the child's hand. "It is not an ordinary seed," she said. "It carries hope. Plant it where people have forgotten how to love." The child awoke before sunrise. The seed was still there. It shone softly in the morning light. The dream was real. Without telling anyone, the child began a journey across rivers, through forests, toward the place where the first people had once opened their eyes. The child's feet were small, but the journey ahead was greater than any elder had ever attempted. Each step carried courage. Each breath carried hope. For 3 days and 3 nights, the child walked. The blazing sun tested every step. Cold winds filled the darkness. Still, the child refused to turn back. On the 4th morning, an old elephant appeared. Its enormous tusks were worn with age. Its eyes were calm and full of wisdom. It blocked the narrow path ahead. The child bowed respectfully. "I seek the place where life first began. I carry a gift of hope. Will you let me pass?" The elephant lowered its head. "It is not strength that opens forgotten roads. It is humility. You may continue." Before leaving, the elephant reached into the branches above. It gently shook loose a single white feather left behind by a sacred bird. "Take this," it said. "It will guide you when your eyes cannot." The child thanked the old guardian. The feather rested beside the glowing seed. Together, they shone with quiet light. The forest itself seemed to smile. As evening approached, dark clouds gathered. Thunder rolled across the mountains. The wind howled louder than ever before. A terrible storm was coming. Far away, hidden within the shadows, the ancient spirit opened its glowing eyes. It had sensed the child's journey, and it knew exactly where the child was going, so it prepared its first trap. The storm arrived with a mighty roar. Rain fell like countless spears from the sky. The trees bent until their branches touched the earth. Still, the child refused to let go of the glowing seed. Lightning split the darkness. For a brief moment, the entire forest shone like daylight. Then everything became black again. Only the seed continued to glow. Suddenly, a voice echoed through the wind. "Turn back, little one. This journey is not meant for you. No one will remember your name." The child closed both eyes. The white feather began to shine. Its gentle light surrounded the child's heart. The frightening voice slowly faded. The storm grew even stronger. A giant tree crashed across the narrow path. The earth trembled beneath every thunderclap. There seemed to be no way forward. Then the old elephant's words returned. "It is not strength that opens forgotten roads. It is humility." The child knelt and quietly prayed. As the prayer ended, the wind became gentle. The rain softened. The fallen tree slowly rolled aside without a single hand touching it. A hidden path appeared beyond it. The child stepped onto the forgotten trail. Strange flowers glowed beside the path. Birds with brilliant feathers watched silently from above. It was a place untouched since the beginning of time. Far away, the ancient spirit roared with anger. Its first trap had failed, but it was not finished. The greatest test still lay ahead. By sunrise, the storm had vanished. The forest sparkled with drops of rain. Every leaf shone like polished emerald. The child continued without looking back.
As the child walked deeper into the forest, an unusual silence slowly settled over the land. No birds sang from the branches, no monkeys leapt through the trees. Even the river had stopped singing. Its waters stood perfectly still. Not a single ripple disturbed its surface. It was as smooth as polished glass. The child knelt beside the water. Looking into its surface, there appeared not one reflection, but many different faces. Some faces smiled with kindness, others twisted by anger. Some were filled with courage, others were consumed by fear. A gentle voice rose from the river. These are the faces of those yet to come. Every choice made today will shape the generations tomorrow. The child held the glowing seed tightly. I want them to know peace. I want them to remember the Creator. I want them to care for one another. The spirit of the river smiled. Then keep walking. The place where life first entered the world is closer than you think. But high above the trees, two glowing eyes watched every step. The ancient spirit had found the child again, and this time it would reveal its true power.